from there.
Yeah, Scott, and you said it started on the westbound 10 freeway near the 405?
Yes, it did. That's when we initially heard that there was a following. There was a following for a little bit of this vehicle before they went into pursuit mode, which means they had the helicopter overhead. They followed the vehicle. It came back stolen. They knew something about it. And before they tried to pull it over and went to pursuit, where they went lights and sirens behind the vehicle to try and get them to pull over, it was just in tracking mode. And that's when we first heard about it. It didn't go into a full-on pursuit until they got into the Santa Monica area. And then we might have that video once again. We'll show it to you, just give you an idea. Once they decided to try and pull the vehicle over, they went lights and sirens and they got right behind the vehicle. Well, at that point in time, that's where the suspect went into oncoming traffic there in Santa Monica. And we had a incident where he did hit a vehicle, but it was a slow rate of speed. There's the video right there. You get the tail end of it. You can tell. But that was so dangerous, they just said, hey, let's back off. And now we're just, on the north end of Malibu on PCH. There's not much traffic here. And it won't be long, and we'll be up towards Point Magoo. It looks like weather-wise we're going to make it for a little bit. The clouds have lifted, but we are getting, steady rain. I wouldn't call it a hard rain, but it's a steady rain now, and that's certainly making things more treacherous.
As they had a dangerous moment and fell back into tracking mode, of course, Scott, that can always go the other direction as well. Right now, this person seems to be driving, somewhat reasonably in that they're not causing great harm to people around them. But if that changes, they know where it is. And this is what I'm talking about, straightening the curves. I mean, he just takes a line, and it doesn't matter if anybody's right next to him or not. It's just going forward. And if it gets more dangerous, again, they can re-engage whenever they want.
Yeah, I don't know that they believe that re-engaging is going to make it less dangerous. I think that that's kind of what they're looking at as a strategy right now. But you're absolutely right. It looked like he could hold a heading of that vehicle, but then from time to time it swerves, and that's really an indication of drugs or alcohol, something of that nature. If you can't keep the vehicle in a lane, it swerves to the left, it swerves to the right. It's just some incapacity on part of the driver to be able to control the vehicle. We're down to one lane on this stretch of PCH northbound. You see there are 2 lanes southbound, and boy, I tell you, you swerve into oncoming traffic here, a head-on collision with that vehicle, you're probably going to have a fatal. But I don't know that there's that much that police can do at this point in time, except for sit back and watch and hope that no one gets hurt.
And Scott, we can't really see from where that angle as far as what might be coming around those corners. But see, this is one thing that's concerning to me. When you've only got one lane for the truck, and 2 on the other side, that's when it starts to be worrisome to me, when this person who has shown the ability to pass people into oncoming traffic or using the turn lane to pass, that's the worry for me here. If this person is just continuing those kind of actions when it's only one lane, because like you said, you can't see what's coming around that corner.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's extremely dangerous. There's no question about that. And, sometimes if it is drugs and alcohol, the ability of the driver deteriorates high, and it gets worse and worse and worse. We sort of bit here. Initially, we saw the suspect be able to swerve out of traffic, not hit anybody, really not swerve back and forth into a lane. And then not too long ago, we saw him actually just into another vehicle right next to him for no reason. He wasn't trying to get around anybody. He just spaced out and, didn't control the vehicle there for a moment, and it pushed another car closer to the side. That could have been dangerous, extremely dangerous. But you're right, as we travel north here, there are some turns. For the most part, not big, wide turns. We're coming up towards Point Magoo here. We'll be in their airspace in a moment. Looks like weather-wise we can continue northbound. It's about the same. It's a steady rain, but it's not a heavy rain, and everybody is backed off. So I have a feeling that they've got a tracker on this, as I mentioned, and they're just going to let it play out. Right now, it doesn't appear that it's extremely dangerous, to anyone in this area. But even more so, I don't know that getting behind this vehicle with a patrol car wouldn't make it more dangerous, and that's what they don't want to do.
Right. It makes sense for them to back off at this point because, again, as we've been saying, we don't know what they know. They probably have some information that a tracker, as you said, or some information on the driver that could will allow them to get to this vehicle when it ultimately does stop. But where are you abouts now on PCH?
We're not far from Point Magoo. We're about a mile and a half south of the rock there. Point Magoo. We'll be coming up on that in just a moment. It's interesting here now. He's got a vehicle in front of him that is not traveling at a high enough rate of speed for him, and look, he's just pushing him out of the way.
Look at that.
So it did split from 1 lane to 2 lanes northbound, and now just 1 lane southbound. But boy, that's a tight squeeze on the southbound side, oncoming traffic. Just that double yellow line there, and if he swerves into that now, we are going to have some serious consequences, I'm afraid. There's not a lot of volume out here. There is some traffic coming southbound. We just certainly hope that this driver stays in his lane here and nobody gets hurt.
Well, the concern that I saw in that last little stretch, Scott, is, you know, you would think a person in this manner would use the shoulder to pass somebody, but there were cars parked on the shoulder. So clearly he or she could see the cars on the shoulder, which led to the middle lane. And that's the terrifying thing, is if this person doesn't have the shoulder available and decides to go into oncoming traffic, again, this is the worry part about this and this kind of driving, where even with plenty of lane, the person's still driving right near the yellow lane, yellow line.
Yeah, on top of it right there. Yeah, it could be deadly. There's a truck coming opposite direction.
Look at that.
Yeah, oh, goodness. I mean, it takes your breath away. You know, if this individual does do that, we're going to have a fatality more than likely. And, that's just horrible. Innocent people getting killed in a situation like this. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Unfortunately, you know, we have to talk about that because we've seen it happen so many times in the past. But you're absolutely right. We're rounding Point Magoo here. You'll see that in just a moment. We will be in Ventura County's jurisdiction here pretty soon. You know, it's interesting the way some of these jurisdictions handle these things differently. So if you continue on PCH, you know, we're going to get into an area up here in the Ventura area into Oxnard, and it'll be a little different situation as far as some of the traffic. It'll be interesting to see if he stays on PCH or actually maybe gets off into some of these residential areas that'll be available to the vehicle, about 5 to 10 miles north of here.
Well, I mean, as we, you know, I'm trying to remember what is, it's pretty much this type of road the rest of the way up into Ventura County, right? I mean, it's pretty much going to stay this way, and now he's behind somebody going slower. So this is, again, every time this person has been slowed, that's when the unpredictability takes over.
Yeah, well, once you get a little further north on PCH up into the Oxnard area, then the conditions change a little bit. I mean, once you're past Point Magoo's airspace here, we're going to see that in just a moment. See if they'll get us clearance to go through. I think they will. I don't believe they have anything active right now. But for the most part, you're right. For the next 10, 12 miles, it's going to be a roadway just like this. But there is a point in time where it does get into a more congested area when you get up into Oxnard.
Yeah, and it looks like he's speeding up to go around some of these cars, because it does look like at times he slows down a little bit. I don't know if you have the mile per hour tracker.
Yeah, we can bring up the real-time speed tracker here.
But he does speed up to pass some cars, and when you've got a 2-lane highway, that is a precarious situation. I mean, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and there's no one behind him, so there's really, it's not like he's trying to get away from anybody. There's not even a helicopter overhead any longer, and there's no way the driver can see us. We didn't see a passenger, we're not visible, and I don't believe anyone else is, so it's not like he knows a helicopter is following him or there are any patrol cars, but still he's pretty impatient, and when he comes up on a vehicle that isn't traveling fast enough for him, he really starts to speed up and make his way around that individual. A lot of cases we've seen earlier, regardless if it was dangerous and into oncoming traffic or on the shoulder. Right now, though, it looks like the separation is being consistent, and it appears, at least for now, he's content to travel at a pretty slow rate of speed. What's the speed, real-time speed tracker tell us? Yeah, 40 miles an hour or so.
Well, and that's, as Giovanna mentioned, it does calm you a bit, but see, right here is when he will pass. If he'll stay the distance, but if he's got that left turn lane to go around somebody, that's when he does seem to accelerate. And I think your word was perfect. He gets impatient, and he just wants to get around. So here's another opportunity for him to see that spot and take it. Although going around that corner
we won't make it.
Might be a bit tough.
Yeah, and then there's a decline here heading into Camarillo, right?
Give me altitude, if you would.
So Scott is trying to make some altitude so he can get a more clear signal. But to your point, Giovanna, yeah, now it's a matter of if the speeds become unmanageable for this person as they're trying to drive, but at least they've got 2 lanes here. And so there for a moment, it's just that area, there's always seeming to be some construction going on there. As you head up into the Ventura area, it can get down to 2 lanes. You worry about people who are working. And then the conditions themselves are not good for driving in the best of it, but it's rainy and messy.
It is raining, and as he moves into Ventura, there'll be more rain. And I was talking about that decline in Camarillo into Camarillo. That's a pretty steep decline, and we don't know how much control he has of that vehicle.
With that, and especially if it's empty. If it's an empty vehicle, this is the video of earlier, and this is one of the reasons why they went to tracking mode. The person drove into oncoming traffic. You'll notice, see how everybody had to back up to get out of the way to avoid being hit.
And he clipped a car.
And he did clip someone. So if this, and then by the way, there was a lot of anxiousness immediately after this section because the person would drive into the turn lane for upwards of a mile.
That's right.
And just put a lot of people at risk.
As we see there, he's in the middle lane there and actually drove against traffic for a little bit as well. And his speeds have been a little bit erratic. I mean, mostly moderate rates of speed, but he has picked up.
And this is the section that you were talking about. But when he went into the oncoming traffic or into the turn lane and then came upon the end of that turn lane and nearly had to hit the pylons in the middle,
that's right.
He was coming over, and that's when the people around him were all at risk. But I think Scott Reif is back now as we're in Camarillo with this, and the speeds could pick up on a decline here, Scott.
Yeah, the speeds haven't changed too much, and now we're on a stretch of PCH through Camarillo. As I mentioned earlier, we're at Point Mugu Air Base, basically just traveling right over there through their extended center line. And it'll continue to look just like this for about another 5 to 7 miles, and then PCH sort of changes a little bit as far as the congestion or the area that you travel through. But right now, there's a big center median, so we don't quite have the danger we had when PCH was down to just 3 lanes, 2 southbound and 1 north. Or the opposite. And I think as far as the danger of him hitting oncoming traffic, that has dissipated just a bit. We'll bring up the real-time speed tracker once again. I would imagine the speed limit here is 65. And so you can tell he's traveling a little faster than the speed limit, but not excessive rates of speed. At least we haven't seen that. And there's little to no volume on this entire stretch of PCH all the way up into Oxnard from what I can tell. There's a lot of cloud cover up ahead. You're going to see us lose the shot, not our signal. We're high enough now. We shouldn't have a problem, but you're going to see these clouds in just a moment that will obscure the vehicle from time to time. But there are a lot of offshoots, there are a lot of streets to get off now, whereas when you're in Malibu, you really couldn't get off on too many streets, or else if you went off the wrong street, you were going to be into a dead end if you didn't get off on something major like Malibu or Canaan. But now there's a lot of offshoots if the suspect decides to get off of PCH. And there's a big center median. There's 2 lanes in both directions, and fortunately, there's not a lot of volume.
We're also starting to see the speed in comparison to traffic, because we saw one person easily pass, and then this truck here is going about the same speed. So at 72 miles an hour, he's not, the driver of the box truck is not the fastest vehicle on the road right now. You're in highway traffic.
And the question now also as he moves into Ventura is what will Ventura County sheriffs do, how they will handle this situation?
Scott, have you seen any change, or have you seen any helicopter air travel, any on-the-ground vehicles, or have they pretty much taken the tack that everybody else has to this point?
Well, it's interesting. There's no helicopter that I'm aware of overhead. We're in Ventura County now, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. There is a patrol car, though, coming up pretty quick, and he's about, I would say, I don't know, a quarter of a mile behind. You look out your window there, Marcel, you'll see him. It's kind of too far for us to open up. We might be able to. It's going to be way off to your left. What's going to happen here in a moment is we're going to have to travel right on top of some clouds, some low-level clouds. So from time to time, we're going to lose the vehicle, but the vehicle will come back in, and that patrol car I was talking about is coming up at a rate of speed in which he's going to intercept the truck. So it will be interesting to see how Ventura County handles this. We can lose altitude now and go through that hole there because of our signal. We'll be fine here. And that's a CHP. It's not Ventura County Sheriff, so it's CHP. And it'll be interesting to see just how they handle this as we come up into this area of Ventura County. And there's the clouds we were talking about. Fortunately, we can descend quite a bit now and still get our signal because of where we're at. At least I hope so, and we're trying, but you get an idea what we're dealing with as far as the weather conditions. It is very wet now. I certainly wouldn't call it a hard rain, but you can tell how slick the conditions are. And now we're coming up into that area where, you know, we're going to start to cross over, and we're going to head up into Oxnard, and then that's that area I talked about where PCH does go through an area where there's a little more congestion. And now there are 4 units behind them, so it looks like they may engage. They may engage the suspect as we continue north. We're still in Camarillo. Got a ways to go before we're in Oxnard. But they may re-engage. Open up, Marcel. Give me a wide shot. There are 4 vehicles total, patrol cars. And you're going to see one come on the bottom of your screen there. They actually stopped at the intersection, so go back into the truck. They're staying back and not letting the suspect see them. So at this point in time, they really have not re-engaged, but it looks like they're ready to if they decide to. And go ahead, Marcel, and tilt up with the camera. And this will give you an idea of what's up ahead. You know, we talked about this a little bit. There's going to be a little more congestion on PCH as you head up towards the 101 freeway. And so as we head through there, we're going to see some stoplights. We're going to see possibly more pedestrian traffic. And the risk is going to get higher once again now. It'll be interesting to see what the demeanor of the suspect is and just how desperate he is if he comes up on an intersection up ahead where we have a red light. And that looks like that may happen here in just a moment.
Okay, Scott, we're going to wrap up coverage of this on the linear portion, ABC 7, and return our viewers to regular programming. But we are going to continue this chase on our streaming, ABC 7 LA streaming app. So if you'd like to continue to watch this, you can join us on our streaming platform. And right now, we're going to return you to regular schedule of programming, along with Giovanna Lara, Scott Reif, and Philip Palmer. Thank you for this special coverage of this chase that is now into Ventura. Whoa, and we got to do. I'm just going to ask one more time if we want to stay with this for a moment or if we're going to still break away. We're going to keep with this just for a second, Scott, because now this is becoming
traffic.
Not good. Into oncoming traffic around
this is the behavior that was happening earlier, and it's just come right back. So we are going to stay with this now. We have officers that have engaged right behind, and the suspect now that has met traffic resistance has taken a much more aggressive measure, Scott.
Yeah, this is just senseless because the patrol cars weren't right behind this individual. So whether he sees the patrol cars or not, he's going to drive like that. And that goes into, you know, the thought process of the CHP at this point in time, who's the lead agency, because they are intercepting this vehicle now. And, you know, you think about the strategy. I mean, you never want to second guess them. But when they get right behind this vehicle, I have a feeling this is going to start to drive much faster than he was driving before. And there's a lot of, we're coming up, but we're still in Camarillo. We're about a mile south of the 101 freeway, headed northbound on PCH. But the real dicey situation is when the suspect comes up to stop traffic and a red light. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, see if he gets on the 101, exactly how he continues to proceed. The patrol cars, though, you can open up now, Marcel. I think you'll be able to see them real quick. It'll give you an idea just how far behind they are. Keep going to the left, if you would, to the camera. Just let him come out of the screen for a moment. The patrol car is going to go in right there. So there's 4 of them. You can go back to the truck now. There's 4 CHP units behind the truck, and the truck does appear to be accelerating. So there's a good chance he sees them now in the side mirror and is deciding he's going to drive faster. And I think that's really one of the reasons LAPD and LA County Sheriff's deputies decided to back off on this. They didn't want to encourage this individual in that truck, in that heavy truck, to drive even in a more erratic nature. Now, if he stays in the right lane, he's going to get on the 101 freeway traveling southbound. That'll be a turn onto the 101 freeway, and it looks like that is going to be the case. So CHP will more than likely engage on the freeway. I believe they're going to do that now. It'll be interesting to see. But the vehicles on the 101 northbound, we're in Camarillo, pretty much on the border of Camarillo and Oxnard. And looks like he's headed back down towards Los Angeles. If he continues on the 101 south, through Camarillo, and then, you know, of course, Thousand Oaks, Woodland Hills, that area. But on the freeway now, and you can see the patrol cars are behind him.
Yeah, and he's been at this now an hour, right? Because you said we picked it up at 11:30, but you were watching it. There was law enforcement on his tail before we picked it up, so an hour now. Yeah,
about that, maybe even a little bit, you know, a little bit longer, more than an hour. The speeds here, though, you know, we talked about the weight of that vehicle. We don't know if it's full, but, you know, that's a big truck regardless. The inertia, the speed vehicle, if he's involved in an incident at speed, it's not going to be pretty. There's no question about that. Traffic up ahead on the 101 northbound is very light. The rain is sort of dissipated for the moment. It's not as heavy as it was in Malibu. And it looks like on the 101 north, I don't see any. I can see up into the pass on the 101 north.
But he's on 101 south, isn't he?
Delays.
Is he on 101 south?
He's 101 south.
The 101 freeway southbound.
Yeah.
He's headed southbound on the 101, headed towards Los Angeles. He was on PCH northbound. Once he got to the 101, he picked up the 101 freeway south. We're right at Beam Camarillo Airport now. We're just coming up on the airport itself. I think I will have to break away from this pursuit probably in the next 10 minutes or so. We're keeping an eye on the fuel. And then I think we have our other helicopter, newscopter, that will take over with the coverage. But right now, I mean, you see the speeds. The speeds aren't really excessive. CHP has backed off. They have 4 units behind him in the right lane, but far enough behind him that I don't think that he actually sees them. I think it's going to be a little more difficult for the suspect to see those patrol cars in the far right lane, you know, quarter mile back, than if they were in the left lane, just with the mirror advantage from his viewpoint. And so at this point in time, you know, they're the patrol cars. We have a pursuit that doesn't appear to be all that dangerous. It looks like he's able to stay in his lane, push in tight. We haven't seen a lot of that swerving, Philip, that we saw earlier. Maybe a little bit, but not excessive. Still able to stay within the lines in his lane. But boy, it was pretty sketchy there on PCH when he was doing a little swerving, possibly into oncoming traffic. And then, of course, we know how desperate the suspect is to get away when he just would not stop in Santa Monica and went into oncoming traffic, hit another vehicle, but again at a slow rate of speed, and no one was hurt. Yeah. And we certainly hope how this one ends. You know, we cover enough of these things, and it's just so dangerous for the public. I think the strategy is a great one, though, to be honest with you. I think it's much better that they back off and don't get right behind a suspect that they know is desperate to get away. And then have him drive at a more erratic pace, because right now he's basically just driving the speed limit.
Right, and you're not wrong about that, but I do wonder about the strategy change and the fact that the CHP showed up for CHP patrol cars. They seemed like they were gaining on him, and then they seem like they've backed off.
Yeah, you know, a supervisor may have saw our picture or somebody's picture and saw that if he did see them, he started to drive more erratically, and they backed off. But they're not behind him at all now. I can't see him out my window. So at this point in time, you know, they've got him tracked. They're making radio calls. They're they're getting the other units in the area aware of what's going on, so that if he gets off on one of the surface streets, they can be prepared. You know, Ventura County Sheriff, they're going to be patrolling this area, so they're aware of what's going on as well. And, you know, at some point in time, the suspect's going to have to stop. He's going to run out of gas. And I really believe, like I mentioned earlier, that more than likely there's a tracker on that vehicle. It's just so many delivery trucks have trackers now. It's sort of unusual for one not to. And that could be one of the reasons they don't have an air unit overhead.
Well, Scott, just as a measure of housekeeping, we know that at some point within the next 10 minutes, you're going to have to go refuel. We will continue to follow this, but we also want to let our viewers know that we're in the middle of GMA3, what you need to know, and we're going to stick with this probably another 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to let Scott go. Then we'll resume this on, actually, it'll be even sooner than that. Okay, so Scott has gone. So, Scott, thank you for safe travels to go to Van Nuys and refuel. And now we are with Newscopter, and we'll continue to follow this along with Giovanna Lara. But we'll stay here on ABC7 for another few minutes, and then we'll resume programming here in just a few moments.
And if you're wondering what we're following, the pursuit of this Lowe's box truck. For about an hour now, we started to follow it at around 11:30. We spotted it, or we got word of a pursuit. When the box truck was on the westbound 10 freeway near the 405, we know it is a stolen truck, but we don't have much information on the driver, although we do believe the driver is alone in that vehicle, and we're not sure what the content of the truck is.
Well, we saw a few moments ago, those were some of the recorded images of when this person was driving into oncoming traffic there on PCH. it seems as if, and Scott pointed it out multiple times, whenever law enforcement got close enough to that driver that the driver knew they were there, that's when the driver became much more desperate to get away. Throughout, the driver had been best described as impatient. If anyone was in his way, he was willing at any point to drive into oncoming traffic. But just as we were about to break away at Ventura, this is what we saw when the person nearly ran into a pickup truck, drove into a turn lane, and then through an intersection to try to get away from CHP officers, which had just resumed. That's what you're looking at on the right. On the left is Air 7 HD, another helicopter. We don't have a reporter in that helicopter, so we'll just kind of describe what we see. But we've just kind of logistically made a bit of a change as we're about to wrap this up on ABC 7.
Yes, and now he is heading on the 101 southbound back towards Los Angeles. But again, we picked it up around the 10 and the 405, and he made his way all the way beyond Camarillo, I believe, turned around and got back on the 101 south.
Which is somewhat interesting, and to be on that narrow lane that is PCH and such a dangerous road, and then turning around and going right back where you came from. It's possible that the person wants to get back into familiar territory. If you're trying to get away from police, you're not going to want to just turn around on PCH because you'd have to stop to do that. So maybe this person knows the area well enough that the plan all along was to get on the 101 and get headed back in the other direction, especially if they don't believe they're being followed at this point, because law enforcement is so far behind them.
Yeah, well, we never know what the plan is for the driver. It never makes any sense to us watching because we believe, and as it often happens, they are caught. And Scott mentioned the possibility that there's a tracker on this truck, and maybe that is one of the reasons also that law enforcement have chosen to sort of pull back. Also, to your point, he does seem to act up aggressively when they gain up on him, so maybe that's another reason too. But even though the speeds aren't super high, we've seen faster pursuits. The fact that he's in this heavy heavy truck, and it looks like an older truck too, so we don't know the condition of the vehicle. That makes it more dangerous, despite the moderate speeds.
We can't really get into the mind of the person or necessarily how the person came to the vehicle, but it does strike me as a very high possibility that this person just grabbed one of these vehicles from Lowe's and took off. You can rent these vehicles all the time. They're sitting in the parking lots, and in many cases, the Home Depots and Lowe's are having a lot of theft. So who knows what this is? It also could be somebody's property. They were simply moving, and the person jumped in the vehicle and drove away. We don't know how they got it. We just know it was stolen. Right. We are a few seconds away from wrapping up this on ABC 7. We're going to rejoin GMA 3, What You Need to Know. But if you'd like to continue to watch this pursuit, you can on our streaming platforms. I'm Philip Palmer, along with Giovanna Lara.
And we continue to follow the pursuit of this stolen truck. On the 101 southbound, this is Ventura Freeway. We're not sure where he is at this point, but he was making his way back from Camarillo. And again, this is a stolen truck. This is why authorities began the chase, is what we understand. A single driver in the vehicle, as far as we know. This is the best look we've had of this person. Yes. It does look, if it's a male driver, we haven't known at this point because of the direction. But that right there is one of the reasons I also think that sometimes he drives somewhat erratically, is he's looking around in the cab, he's reaching across the way, and I just think sometimes he just keeps a straight line instead of following and staying in lanes, because he's just simply driving without concern for anybody around him. And it's hard to drive these large vehicles. It really is. I mean, you have to have a lot of experience to be able to maneuver them and know where to look and how to see where the other cars are around it. Oh, the blind spots are remarkable. Yeah. Exactly. So he's going about just under 50 miles an hour right now, but we have seen some very aggressive driving from this suspect, driving on the wrong side of the road, clipping a vehicle. Nothing serious, no one was hurt, but he is determined to get away. And I think, you bring up a great point about the lack of being able to see
what's around you. And as it looks like this person was thinking about getting off on the exit, but whenever this guy was getting in congested traffic, you're not going to know if somebody is right there to your right. The left side, you probably can see them, but not on the right. And so when he was just driving, I think those were the moments where it just didn't matter if anybody was there or not. He couldn't see them probably, and he didn't really care. So when he would go to the left, there's the chances that he could see what was there a little better. But what's interesting about this right now is, again, it's just freeway speeds. And there are people who are driving faster than this person. And so we've seen cars right now, this little minivan is driving faster and going to pass. So it's not so much the speed, but the impatience and the recklessness and the willingness to do whatever to continue moving forward for this truck that I think is the fear.
That's right. And we have seen evidence of law enforcement in pursuit initially. And then, as you know, we've been saying, they pulled back. And then all of through the northern part of PCH, no one was following him. There was no evidence of any patrol vehicles. That would be through sort of the LA County Sheriff's Department jurisdiction. But then when he moved into Camarillo, we did see 4 CHP officer patrol cars gain on him, try to catch up with him. But then again, we saw some more aggressive driving from the suspect, and they pulled back. Well,
and that was, I think, if those 4 officers, or one, it started as 1 and then all of a sudden there were 4, but if they all of a sudden decided, hey, now may be a chance, they got proof, or they got more evidence that what LAPD and what the sheriff had decided to do was the best course of action. Because as soon as that move was made that we saw on videotape just a moment ago of the driving through Ventura County, right in that Camarillo area, that was proof that, hey, he's still very aware that he doesn't want to be caught.
Exactly. And we have Bruce Thomas on the line, law enforcement expert. Thank you so much for talking with us. Can you shed some light or some insight on the strategy on the law enforcement side in this case?
Yeah, in this case, you're dealing with a vehicle that has substantial weight and size. So some of the typical things you may want to do down the road, like a pit maneuver, are probably out the window. Your best course of action would be a spike strip on this type of vehicle.
Well, and even that is somewhat difficult, isn't it, Bruce, because of the rate of speed? I mean, how you can't put officers at risk, and this vehicle is significant in size, and you know you're going to it could flip. You know, without, if you all of a sudden lost air pressure, I mean, there's risk involved in that as well, yeah?
That's correct, Philip. Yeah, I mean, ideally the spike strip will deploy what we'll call little pitons inside the tire, which lets the air out very, very slowly. It seems like CHP or Ventura County Sheriffs, it may have a strategy of let's try to slow traffic behind it, create an operational zone area to follow, or maybe do some intervention with this truck.
Wow, look at this. Look at this. There's contact with that vehicle.
Wow.
He ran into another box truck. And what's interesting is he was absolutely looking at the vehicle as he hit him. And now the question is, does that box truck pull over, or does he try to re-engage? And that is the concern there, because now look, the box truck that was hit is still pursuing the suspect vehicle. So, Bruce, how does that change things for CHP? You can't have a road rage incident in addition to a chase.
Yeah, that was very interesting that he hit the other box truck. And the box truck may be under the impression of, hey, I'm going to follow this guy, get information to file a police report.
Right.
So CHP is going to have to intervene and pull that other box truck over.
Yeah, because they have no idea. There's no police around. So the second vehicle has no idea that this is a pursuit suspect. And by the way, doesn't know if the person's armed, doesn't know if the person's dangerous, doesn't know if that truck has been stolen. But now look, he's coming up, and we've got to see what he's got planned.
Yeah, ideally, if you're in that type of situation, get on the phone, dial 911. They'll give you the proper information and dictate what you should do.
And now the box truck is getting off the freeway here Is this the Thousand Oaks exit?
But look quickly, this person's coming up on an intersection here, and we don't know how they're going to play this, driving through the intersection, passing on the right, all the while. Now this box truck, see if he tries to take an exit and get over there with him, because again, I keep going back to the person in this Mr. Tire truck thinks that he's got a hit and run on his hands.
Right.
And so now look, he might try to stop him. If he gets in front of the suspect vehicle behind, if he tries to slow down, again, creating more danger for the people around.
And look at this. Oh my gosh. Wow. Another.
This is why you just don't do this, because
he is trying to stop him.
Absolutely. And now look at this. And where is CHP at this point, Bruce? What is CHP thinking?
Look at this.
CHP is trying to intervene as quickly as they can, because this Mr. Tire truck is taking positive action, boxing him in, slowing him down.
But I keep looking at all of the people on the highway right now, watching this occur, not realizing what's going on. And the Mr. Tire truck, again, he thinks he's trying to stop a hit-and-run vehicle, but the person could be armed in that vehicle because it was stolen. We don't know how it was stolen. And then for the person in the second box truck to be rear-ended, at that point, even if you thought you were just getting information, you can't re-engage, right, Bruce? I mean, at some point, you have to understand life and property are at risk here.
But my question is, what can the CHP do about this? I mean, what can they do?
Well, taking Philip's question first.
Okay.
Obviously, you don't want to intervene and put yourself in a position of risking your life or other people's lives. It's a hit and run. Pull out of the side of the road. He doesn't know CHP is there, but they will engage him and get him involved as far as all the legal paperwork and everything. Let CHP do their job. The other thing, and Giovanna, if you could repeat your question.
My question is, what can you do about this situation as a CHP officer following these two guys?
Well, they got to pull over the Mr. Tire truck and get him to disengage.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yeah. To Philip's point is, they've got to get that other truck out of the problem, because they can't do anything legally or lawfully and safely until you get that other truck out of the way. And at this point, that driver is hell-bent on stopping that truck.
Well, and the danger to commuters anywhere near these two vehicles at this size, if one of them flips, if one of them is spun out and running into other vehicles, you're potentially causing great harm to other people. Look at this.
Oh, my goodness. He is intent on getting that box truck.
At some point, CHP's got to catch up to Mr. Tire and pull him over to let him know what's going on, right?
Yeah, now he's intervening again, and CHP has got to get there and solve this issue.
Well, CHP is following the suspect vehicle. Mr. Tire has now pulled over. We don't know what he's going to do, but I'm sure CHP will be up quickly. So now the suspect vehicle is turning off of the freeway. It looks like that is Windsor or Jans Road, but has definitely pulled off the freeway. I guess he just decided he didn't want to deal with that other box truck anymore. Air 7HD, if we can get them to pull up on that, that's the suspect vehicle there. The other vehicle is on the highway.
Yeah, the main point to both of your points is don't get involved.
Yes. No, we hear that, and we hope that our listeners and our viewers are hearing that too. Definitely not. You don't want to engage in a road rage situation for sure. And we don't know if the Mr. Tire guy has been on the phone with 911 maybe he's trying to get a license plate. Who knows? Well, we saw him try to get this truck to stop.
Well, 911 would tell you immediately to pull back. But this is where the Lowe's truck actually ran into Mr. Tire. Mr. Tire and another box truck were simply driving along. I believe, as anyone, somebody hits you, rips off your front bumper, and then keeps going, you're going to at least follow to maybe get a license plate or something, and then you're going to be upset. But look at the driver on the left. That's the live picture. Again, going through an intersection, shown recklessness on the freeway, the engagement with another box truck. It's been just an aggressively violent, rageful act between these two guys. And then now you've got this box truck that has left the highway, probably wanting to get away from the other box truck who was just absolutely engaging with him, but continues to try to get away. So, Bill, do we just resume where we were 15 minutes ago, where they pull back and they kind of let this play out again? Or does what happened on the freeway change everything?
Well, I think, he seems to be in some sort of residential area, and he's doing, 40, 50 miles an hour. So could you deploy a spike strip? If you can get ahead of this vehicle, yes, you can. I think the more prudent thing is to be, with the weather also, a little bit of rain in that area, is pull back, go into surveillance mode, have areas flood the area where he is basically going to have the terminus of this pursuit, and then take him into custody through a coordinated response.
When we were talking to Scott Reif earlier, he mentioned a lot of these trucks have trackers on them. Can you talk a little bit about that? And if it does have a tracker, does it make sense just to let him continue on and they catch up with him later? Is that possible?
Yeah, a lot of these type vehicles have low jack or teletrack type issues, so their dispatch can track them as they finish their route or do their route. That's one way to do it. Another way, too, is you have the helicopter, and it's kind of hard to outrun the helicopter unless weather prevents them from doing that. So even if you were to park the vehicle and then foot bail, they're going to take this person into custody, and they're going to follow this vehicle.
Well, as we look at the live shot on the left, the person pulled right out into oncoming traffic. So it's not as if this guy has suddenly begun driving safely. There's still some impatience and aggressiveness that you're seeing right there, passing a truck in the turn lane into what could be oncoming traffic, and now approaching another intersection in that turn lane. We're going to see if this person is going to just go straight. They did. So again, using the turn lane. Why into oncoming traffic there?
Doesn't need to.
Again, This is such a danger for people who have no idea what's going on, and all of a sudden they're staring at the grill of a box truck.
Yeah, this guy has definitely shown a wanton disregard for public safety.
And we talk about the speeds in this circumstance. It's not horrible, but it's still 50 roughly miles an hour in areas that are probably 35, and you're driving one of these big trucks and certainly not making a stop there at the red light, just cruising right on by. Not positive if this takes this person back in the direction of the freeway. They may want to get back on the freeway after leaving the freeway due to, there it is, going parallel to the freeway. So if you think about it, Giovanna, in that you get off the freeway because of what was going on with the other box truck, but that's where you wanted to be in the first place.
Right.
So maybe you go through the neighborhoods and now you get back on the freeway. I'm not sure, but it does appear as if maybe that's where the direction that they're going.
Yeah, we saw the freeway in the wider image from the helicopter a moment ago, and I think it's right on the other side of this intersection. So we'll see if he's going to head south. If it's the same freeway, there it is. Oh, no, I guess there's no on-ramp there. So. But
he turned left in front of all of those vehicles in that intersection. So he probably saw the freeway, but as you mentioned, didn't know that there's not an on-ramp right there, unless maybe the right turn there will take you. So, yeah. But again, even that simple move was dangerous because he was in a straight lane and turned left in front of vehicles. And now we're looking at the 101 again.
Not sure if it's south or north.
It is. We're trying to figure that one out. My guess is it's probably going back southbound, just because that was the direction the person was going in the first place, which would mean he might come back up on Mr. Tire again.
So Bruce, what your
No,
thoughts?
it's northbound. My apologies. It does say 101 northbound.
Northbound. Yeah. So Bruce, bringing you back into this. This is perplexing. Like, how do you handle this?
Yeah, going back to what Philip said, this is a good-sized truck. It's got some weight to it. It may be loaded fully with cargo and appliances or whatever. So that creates another problem for the pursuing officers. But in this case, you just got to kind of follow the vehicle. I think if you get right up on it, and this person knows they're being chased, obviously, you may create a dangerous situation more than what we've seen.
Well, we keep running the video there on the right of the interaction between these two box trucks when the Lowe's vehicle, which is the suspect vehicle, sideswiped a person probably just going about their business and their day-to-day work, and then that person reacted over the course of about 2 or 3 minutes of some very dangerous activity between the two, still just trying to get the Lowe's person to stop. But because the Lowe's person is being chased by police, he was willing to ram the Mr. Tire truck from behind. He was willing to sideswipe them and continue to go. It was a really dangerous scenario for Mr. Tire truck. And I don't even think he realized how dangerous it was, because this vehicle is stolen and has been trying to get away from police for the better part of an hour and a half now.
Likely completely unaware of what was happening when he was hit by that box truck.
And it's understandable. I mean, it is understandable to be that upset and that rageful, I would think, because Bruce, I mean, this was an unprovoked act on that person, and he just wanted them to stop and do the right thing. So
and he's driving a company vehicle.
Yeah, it might even be his business. It might even be his business.
Right.
But Bruce, I mean, it's hard. I mean, in hindsight, yes, I'm sure you could think, okay, yes, I should have done that differently. But in the moment, I don't think that the person's actions were that unjustified, except when it got more dangerous to people all around.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he has a license plate on that.
Not anymore.
No.
Remember, there was a whole lot going on.
Yeah, that's true.
But Bruce, when you talk about the unjustified actions?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're upset. You're frustrated. You're like, hey, this guy just hit me. I'm not going to let them get away with that, even though you don't know the other part of the circumstances of this incident. But, you know, we tell people, don't get involved. Discretion is the better part of valor. Pull to the side of the road, dial 911. You know, you just don't get involved.
What are there charges that someone could be facing in that circumstance? Maybe we can help our viewers with that as well. If you find yourself in something similar to this, because this could happen again within the next 5 minutes. What happens to a person who acts in that manner? Is it usually a slap on the wrist or a ticket, or say, hey, don't do that again?
You know, it elevates itself. You have a hit and run misdemeanor, meaning you have now been involved in an accident and you have not pulled over and exchanged information with the other driver. So that's one charge. The second charge, obviously, is the pursuit charge. The other charge, too, if that person in that Mr. Tire truck was hurt and or injured.
Well, I was talking about the charges that Mr. Tire might face. Not that this suspect faces a litany of charges, but for somebody who had that happen to them, I would think that those actions are reasonable, but you mentioned that you tell people don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, are they reasonable? Yes and no. Are you frustrated? Yes. Are you upset? Yes. How dare you hit me and then drive away? But I don't think anybody would look to charge him with anything.
Okay.
Obviously, he'd get a very stern warning from CHP or Ventura County SO. Yeah.
I mean, I understand following him. I don't think that I would get in front of him and try to stop that big truck. That might not have been the wisest thing to do. And certainly not anything we recommend. But you know, we keep talking around this over and over again. This guy keeps going. He's just nothing stopping him, and it appears like it is getting rainier.
Well, going northbound.
Yeah, northbound.
And I'm not sure how our signal is going to be affected the further north we go. But again, we've been following this since about 11:30 on ABC7, and then now we are on our streaming channel. And when we went to the stream, that's when things took a turn. There were plenty of opportunities for unhappy outcomes during our broadcast on ABC7 when this person was driving in and out of traffic. But once we went to the stream and he ran into that box truck, but that's again, it's almost exactly what we had seen elsewhere. He was driving along, he went to change lanes, and either he couldn't see the box truck or he didn't know what he was doing, but he just didn't care and ran into somebody who was just minding their own business. And then that person, everything started to escalate there for a moment. And that's many times the dangers of these chases is, especially in surveillance mode, the people don't realize there's a chase going on right now. They don't realize what this person has done because they see no police officers. They see no law enforcement. And so they don't know to pull over. And then this person just sideswipes them. And everything changes. Right.
That seems to have been an accident, right? When he sort of clipped that other box truck. But you were talking about when we went from the stream, when we started this, we were going from our linear coverage to the stream. He became very aggressive when he realized that those CHP vehicles were behind him. Every time law enforcement has made their presence known, he ratchets up the aggression and the speed and the weaving and the dangerous driving.
And Bruce Thomas stays with us here. And, you know, Bruce, when we had LAPD, we had LA County Sheriff at one point. We had Ventura probably taking a look at this, although we didn't see any law enforcement from Ventura. We did see, that's when the CHP, as Giovanna was just mentioning, joined. So you've had multiple agencies, and for the most part, everybody has taken the same tact, which is track the vehicle. But how do things change for all of these agencies based off of what we just saw between the two box trucks? Because I still don't see any CHP.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things going on here. One, the unpredictability of the driver, and we've seen that. Trying to pass a vehicle, ramming a vehicle, getting off the freeway, getting on the freeway, totally unpredictable. The law enforcement seems to be in a tracking mode as the weather is deteriorating with rain. Police helicopters that normally would be able to follow with low-lying clouds and fog, they may not be able to. So in this case, it's going to be a kind of wait-and-see game. Maybe you can get some CHP ahead of the game because it is on the freeway to follow this person. But I don't think they're going to actively engage at this speed.
Yeah, and you said earlier a spike strip would be their only possible, you know, avenue of stopping him. But with the rain and the other vehicles on the road, that's not likely.
Well, the nice thing about the spike strip is once it's deployed and the little metal, I'll call them like straws, will then bed into the tire, it lets the air out very, very slowly. So it's almost like a controlled stop. But we have seen vehicles run on rims for a long period of time with no rubber. So it's not a panacea. It's not the solution for everything. Well,
and if you look at this box truck, it's got 4 wheels on the back, if I'm looking at that correctly. So that makes it, if I'm, is it 2 there on the back? I can't, I thought it was. But yeah, it does look like there's 2 on the back and 4 on the back. So, you know, now that makes that difficult. And, you know, you get the front, okay, but you're going to have to deflate upwards of 6 tires if you really want him to get down on the rims.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is to deploy the spike strip, you have to have a safe operational area, not just for the deployment, but for the officer who's going to deploy it, too.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was thinking about earlier, because the deployment of the spike strip is not just lay it out on the street and step back safely and watch. It usually is done in between one car coming by and another car coming by, and the officer has to toss it out there. So with an unstable vehicle like this, you're really putting the officer at extreme risk, because if they swerve to miss that spike strip and tip that vehicle over, that could be life-threatening for the officer.
Yeah, and one of the things we're seeing is the weather deteriorating rapidly as they move up toward Ventura County, heading up toward Santa Barbara, Oxnard. So with the low-lying clouds, law enforcement may just have to give this up and just kind of watch on the on and off ramps as this vehicle goes by.
Well, Bruce, here's what we're going to do very quickly. The stream is going to continue with this. Giovanna and I are going to pause. We have some work that we have to do on ABC7, but then we will rejoin you and we'll continue to follow this. So we'll be silent here for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we will rejoin the chase. But the picture here on our stream will continue as authorities monitor this box truck, which was reported stolen about 2 hours ago.
turned into a pursuit. Went into the oncoming traffic and started moving, didn't hit anybody. Everybody kind of moving out of its way, and then the pursuit was definitely on. California Highway, excuse me, it's going to be LAPD. They had a couple of units behind it, and there they are. They're kind of just following back, probably because they're worried about this type of situation. Pacific Coast Highway, we've had a lot of crashes out here, especially with that high-speed driving, and now we have somebody in a stolen truck. We don't know if that driver is familiar with this vehicle or if this was a crime of opportunity, and you can clearly see it right there. Speeds are really starting to pick up. Let me turn on some of that high-tech stuff we have. 55 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, that's not what you want to see on Pacific Coast Highway. And then, of course, with this bigger truck coming to a stop right there, running through another red light. These are the problems that we've been worried about, and then some pedestrians in that crosswalk as well. But again, stolen vehicle pursuit happening right now. Pacific Palisades is the area. Malibu is going to be our next stop. And, of course, California, I keep saying that, LAPD, the ones behind it right now, they have an airship up ahead, up above, and they're keeping an eye on it, but maybe the Sheriff's Department will get involved, especially if it gets into the Malibu area. Oof, oof, oof. Yes. Yeah. You can see this thing rocking, especially when he's going off the roadway like that. Then you get off the roadway, you get into those dips. It might not be a bad thing if he does something like that, and then the truck gets stuck or just gets stopped along the hillside there. Right now, those speeds are definitely kind of picking up. You can see it once again, but this driver really not concerned about any of those red lights or any of the traffic. Every time we've come into any kind of situation where there are other vehicles around him, he's made every effort to get around, meaning going on the wrong side of the road or far over to the right. So this vehicle clearly not stopping, clearly being very defiant of the laws. And again, continuing on, LAPD, I'm wondering if they have dropped there. They are way back there. I don't want to get too far away because we're coming up on some other traffic is what I just heard. It's kind of up there, but you can see all that stopped traffic. This is where it's going to get tense once again. If this driver decides to go onto oncoming traffic around those corners, we just don't want to see any of that. He's choosing that right shoulder, which is probably the better bet right there. But again, squeezing through, and again, just kind of making his way. Look, he's actually being blocked by another bobtail truck. Don't know if they're doing that on purpose or maybe he just wants to get over to the right to make a right turn. But again, these tense situations, you just don't want to see anybody get hurt, not even that suspect. I haven't heard, and I've been trying to peek. It's funny that you just brought that up. I really was just looking inside the cab, trying to figure out if we could get a good look at the driver. But right now, it's just one of those situations where we have to keep the signal up. That means we have to keep up a little altitude, and of course, LAPD, they're down low as well. But that truck kind of rocking around, I'm kind of wondering if it's really heavily loaded, meaning maybe there's a lot of supplies in the back, or possibly this is empty. But it does seem to rock a lot, especially when they start making those hard turns, which leads me to believe that there is some weight in there, which doesn't make the situation any better. As this thing being heavily loaded, that's going to create some issues for performance. And of course, you got a little bit of rain out here. I know Maria's been talking about that. The roads are starting to get damp, especially out here in the Malibu area, officially now in the Malibu area. And again, this is going to be roughly, it always gets kind of weird, but we're heading north. We're heading north out towards the northern part of Malibu, clearly. Pacific Coast Highway is the road. The speeds, 50 miles an hour, that's not slow, but at least they're not getting up in the, here we go, up, taking up some of that center divider. But it's kind of blending in with a lot of the other traffic. I'm going to get a little bit wider to get an idea what's happening ahead of it. You got a little bit of traffic again up ahead, but it seems like he's moving along with the flow of traffic, which is good. But right now, LAPD, they're going to want to bring this to an end safely. Now he's starting to take up that center divider once again. Don't know why. There isn't really anybody behind him anymore. It looks like the black and whites that were on the ground have dropped farther back or maybe even discontinued, possibly because of the location, meaning we're getting into the sheriff's area, and or they might be going into tracking mode. They're hoping that the driver of this truck might calm down a little bit, drive a little safer, maybe try to do one of those, I'm going to stop here, get out and run. That's what it's all about, public safety. That's what law enforcement is always thinking about first. Yeah. You definitely can't see anything when they come around those corners, and we've been covering a lot of these high-speed crashes out here, and you know, we never get an idea of how fast those cars are going. We just say that they were speeding. Right now, technically, he's kind of in the pack down there. He's going with the flow of traffic, so I venture to say that when we see those numbers, 40-something miles an hour, that's about right. And that would also mean that whoever the commander is this morning that basically told the units on the ground, just back off, we're going to let the helicopter handle it. It is working. That truck driving a little bit less reckless is probably the best way to describe it. And as I say that, now the speed's starting to pick up once again. Believe me, I'm not blind to the fact that it says fast delivery on the side of that truck, but right now you just don't want to poke any fun at this because this could become a very dangerous situation, especially on Pacific Coast Highway, bigger truck like that, and the way this driver is driving this morning. You know, as far as law enforcement goes, the only thing that I can say for sure is the LAPD helicopter still above it. They're keeping an eye. Also would venture to say that, and again, this is more of just a guess, is that they are calling it out to the Sheriff's Department. Now, is the Sheriff's Department going to get involved? That's a kind of a call for other people that are pay grade much higher than mine. They may, I'm using the word may, they may be setting up a little bit ahead of it and possibly will be using trying to use some sort of spike strips, maybe to pop some of those tires or let the air out of those tires so that it turns this, and brings that truck to a stop. As it stands right now, it's more of a wait and see type of situation. LAPD, they're biding their time. They've got that helicopter over it. They're going to keep an eye on it. And of course, we're here as well. But as far as on the ground, lights and sirens, at this moment, nobody is behind it in an actual pursuit. And it actually is working. You can see those numbers dropping there, that truck driving more of the freeway, the road posted speeds, and keeping safer type of situation. And that really is what it's all about. That's the only thing that, law enforcement, they want to catch the bad guys. They want to get the criminals with those cuffs on. But in the end, it's all about safety, and that's what they're thinking about right now. And it does seem like their tactics are working. Those speeds have dropped. That vehicle's driving a little bit more safer. And as I say that, you can see him kind of picking up speed once again. But as it stands, it's going to be more of a follow along and see what happens. And right now, that driver, that stolen vehicle, using that center lane to pass that one vehicle that is probably driving the speed limit, and you can see him picking up a little bit of speed. And again, you know they're coming up probably on another light, but I'm going to just take a peek. But they're not. But there is a lot of traffic out here, and there's that LAPD helicopter I was talking about. So they're keeping an eye on it, and if hopefully this driver doesn't actually collide with anybody, and maybe this will just kind of come to an end where the driver decides, you know, this is a spot, I'm going to jump out and try and run. But other than that, this is all we can do right now is keep an eye on what's going on.
Oh, did he just take a red light there? Yeah. So, Stu,
Yeah,
the language, important, obviously, when we cover these breaking news types of stories. You just said at this point it's a follow along, see what happens. Does that mean it's not a pursuit? When do we categorize it as a pursuit? Does it depend on if there are black and whites following this vehicle? That's when we would call it a pursuit.
Well, you know, when I call it a pursuit, that would be when I hear the law enforcement actually say we're re-engaging the pursuit or we are in pursuit of, and we have actually not heard that. We've actually seen the opposite. They've backed down, and again, it's a judgment call on somebody other than us. And of course, they seem to be doing the right thing. In the beginning, you saw it. This vehicle driving very, very recklessly, trying to get away from those officers. Now, you know, 60 miles an hour in heavy rain, coming around a corner, that's going to create a dangerous situation as well. But as far as the actual law enforcement behind it, we're not seeing any of that right now. And of course, those lights and sirens, they could be helping the folks on the ground, the civilians that are just driving today. They might hear those lights and sirens. You make them kind of keep an eye on what's going on. We understand we have another solid red coming up as we're making our way over here by Pepperdine. Going to keep an eye on it. Hopefully this driver of this truck will make the right decisions and not collide with any other drivers. Looks like he's choosing that far right that looked like it was open just a moment ago. And if it's getting a little blurry for our viewers, believe me, I know it. I'm frustrated as well. That's actually just rain on the lens, making it a little difficult to see.
How bad is it raining there, Stu? Because I know that area has been plagued with debris and mud flow along PCH in Malibu. In fact, in one area going down to one lane as this box truck gets farther north, or west, I should say, on PCH, there is limited access in that area as well.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was just hearing that the LAPD is going to be backing off and that the sheriff's helicopter is going to be taking it over here. No, they're not taking it over. So the sheriff's department, they are going to be made aware on the ground that the that this is a stolen vehicle coming through their area. Are they going to be able to put out those spike strips? Are they going to re-engage this in a pursuit? That's going to be a wait-and-see type of situation until we actually know it. We really can't say it. But I can tell you that the LAPD helicopter, he got called back. He's making that U-turn. He's heading back into the city area. We're passing the Pepperdine area right now. That truck kind of blending in a little bit as far as speeds go. As far as Sandra, as far as your question, you know, hopefully, I was actually kind of hoping that maybe we would get into like those traffic situations where it does come down to one lane, and that would be the opportunity for law enforcement to make their move, kind of just make their presence or try to block it in or whatever they could do. But right now, it's just going to be a rainy road, Pacific Coast Highway. We're northbound, and we're going to keep an eye on it. It really is everybody's call. If the sheriff's department gets involved, that's up to their bosses, their commanders. Somebody's probably listening and making a decision right now. And also availability. They might not have a unit that is patrolling nearby, and they might have to get into position. And then again, it's right back to the safety. You know, how fast do we want our guys to get there in the rain on Pacific Coast Highway?
Stu, do we know how this whole thing began? Was it a call that came in? I know it's a stolen box truck, but is this person familiar with the company? Did they work there? Do you know anything about that?
No, Jen, I don't, and I wish I did, because those little nuggets of information really help as far as making a decision call for us. Or, you know, does this guy know this truck, or was this a crime of opportunity? Was this maybe an unhoused person that saw the keys in the vehicle? All those questions we don't really know. We do know that it was some sort of following. and that I would venture to believe that there's a tracking device on that vehicle, because there were no black and whites behind it until those ones that we saw arriving. But somehow that airship, the PD ship, they knew that this was a stolen vehicle. So my guess, it's some sort of tracking device inside there. I don't know if we still use LoJack or whatever the ones that they use, but I believe there must be something like that in there. And that also might be one of the reasons why law enforcement is basically just saying, you know what, let this guy drive this out, park that vehicle. You know, stolen property can be replaced. Injuries, somebody losing their life, that's something entirely different.
Yeah, it's certainly looking a little more dangerous as the rain starts coming down. That box truck approaching an area where, as you see from some of the barricades right there, where it is narrowing down in terms of the road because of previous debris flow into the area on PCH, and obviously construction there, as it is, PCH being a dangerous road to travel on, especially when you talk about something like this and the nature of how narrow that street is in the Malibu area approaching Ventura right now, as well as the amount of traffic that PCH really handles in that area in terms of vehicles as well as cyclists. Obviously, it's raining, so not as many out there at this point, but clearly look at how narrow it is. If there was more traffic, it would be an even more dangerous situation still.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, I'm actually thinking, you know, we do so many of these, and we've seen this so much in the past. I worry that the roadway might get congested, meaning they're, you know, down to one lane where we are right now, and then possibly traffic, and then this driver going into oncoming traffic. We've seen him do it a couple of times already, and that really is something that has been going through my mind. You know, we just don't want to see anybody get hurt. He's making that move right now. He's been following that Jeep for quite a bit. He's probably looks like he's trying to speed up to get around it. Why? You know what? This is the thing. It's like, who are you running from right now? You're not running from anybody. You're running from your own demons as far as that goes, because there is nobody chasing that vehicle right now. Yes, of course, you have a lot of eyes on it. We're watching it, and hopefully that some law enforcement is probably watching our picture as well. There comes some Caltrans. I know Sandra was talking about it, and this is exactly what you've been saying. We've had a lot of mudslides out here. That far right lane has been closed in a lot of locations. And now look at that truck, and look at the amount of water that's on the road. You can see that those trails coming from those rear wheels. So there is standing water on that roadway. So when they speed up like that, believe me, I do get a little bit more worried. And again, you just saw that kind of weave, and then that thing rocks like that. It just all adds and adds and adds. But again, I'm sure this is what law enforcement, somebody's probably watching, maybe our digital feed or maybe the show right now, and they are kind of making a decision call. Do we get involved? Do we not? As far as the Malibu Sheriff's Department, Lost Hills Station, I am trying to listen. I haven't heard them talk about it, but I know for a fact that they're aware that this is going on.
We want to show the video from earlier, because right now what we're seeing is this car just going, or this truck just driving in a straight line, not much happening intense-wise. But look at what happened earlier, where he went on the opposite end of the road, right, against traffic. There you see people in their vehicles unsure of what's happening, but they do give him space, or him or her, we don't know if it's a man or woman behind the wheel, give that driver space so that they don't get hit. There you see the police car in close pursuit. So quite a bit has changed from earlier to right now, but definitely the driver driving recklessly, making a number of changes and violations that are illegal to do so. The roads being wet obviously complicates the matter further, because you don't know what is in this truck, right? What's being carried in the truck, how many people are in the truck, what lengths this person is willing to go to try to escape the police. And yes, this is already a very difficult road to drive on when conditions are perfect, let's say on a sunny, dry day. But now we're watching this vehicle. It seems like he is, or she is, picking up speed as we continue to watch.
Definitely, and we just did a little bit of a tight shot in there and just kind of grabbed a look at that driver the best we could. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but it definitely looks like if it is a unhoused person, it's a very well-dressed unhoused person. As far as we could see, just the driver, and the cab is empty. The speeds, though, they're getting up into the 60-mile-an-hour mark. The only plus to that is that there's not a lot of other vehicles around at this portion of the Malibu area. So that's a benefit, but with those higher speeds, if there's something comes up in front of him or something catches this driver's eye, this could become a real problem very, very quickly. You can see right now, though, again, the way we can gauge the amount of water on the roadway is those rooster tails coming off those rear wheels. Now that's a lot of water, so that means that there is a lot of standing water right there, and also you can get an idea of the speeds. That's pretty accurate because we're a full push right there, and it's solid on that vehicle. So this truck going about 65 miles an hour, let's be real about it, as we're getting closer to Zuma. His hands is out the window. I wonder if he clearly has the window down. I wonder if that's because he's starting to sweat a little bit, realizing, getting worried about what's happening. As far as the ride goes, you can see it kind of moving around. Looks like we're set. Nope, I thought maybe we were setting up for Cane and Dune, but just running another solid red there, very nonchalantly, which also worries me. If you have that type of confidence, before a great fall comes great pride. We all know that one. So we're going to keep an eye on it for sure. The speed's definitely picking up as we're getting over towards Zuma. And Pacific Coast Highway, where are you going to go with this? I mean, if he decides to take one of those canyon roads, it's going to be even more hair-raising with that truck in making those tight turns. So the other plan might be, this driver might be thinking, I'm just going to go up to Ventura. I can tell you, Ventura CHP, they're a feisty breed up there. I'm going to say that for sure. If they're probably another solid red right there. If they get that far and we're still with it, this is probably going to have a much different type of ending than down here. But as it stands, this is a stolen vehicle, kind of on its own now, making its way northbound on Pacific Coast Highway, and we're getting into the northern part of Malibu right now. Roads wide open, but definitely raining out here this morning.
Yeah, they're no joke in Ventura, and he is approaching that county line about 10 miles, I believe, being familiar with that area. But gosh, you could see all that rain coming down and just how saturated PCH is right now. And look at the speeds in that rain. That is certainly frightening, because not only if there's a spin out that occurs, would that person be jeopardizing themselves, but also all of the other cars, even on the other direction, the oncoming traffic in the other lanes, they're at jeopardy as well. But look at all of that rain. You could tell by, as Stu was mentioning, as he called the rooster tails coming off of the tires right there, all of that slick rain. Ooh, and he's going to the left. I don't know if he's sliding around, Stu.
Oh, wow.
I think he might have just clipped that. There might have been a little paint swap right there on that K-rail. And again, that kind of stuff, you just watch and you're just thinking to I get that a lot. It's like, what are they thinking? I have no idea. I clearly have no idea what this driver's thinking. Possibly maybe he was on his phone right there, but you saw it. You called it out, Sandra. He was kind of wobbling back and forth, and for a moment I was thinking maybe it was just the high speeds, and we didn't want to. He was just kind of drifting through those lanes, trying to take advantage of the empty roadway. But then when he kind of clipped that little thing right there, it makes me think maybe he's just not paying attention, which just adds to the trouble. You can see he went through a lot of water right there, a lot of muddy water, so there is a little bit of a mudslide. But continuing on, and northbound is the game right here. We're going to be getting out of the Malibu area before we know it, getting into Ventura County. I'm not sure if California Highway Patrol is going to be waiting for him up there, but we've covered enough of these, and I know the jurisdictions, and it seems like whenever we get into that Ventura County area, those California Highway Patrol guys, they don't appreciate any kind of chases on their freeways at all. And this is going to be in the Pacific Coast, off of Pacific Coast Highway, but it's still part of their jurisdiction. So we're going to keep an eye on it for sure, as I'm being told, and we'll keep watching it as we're making our way northbound. But the rain definitely getting worse, traffic getting lighter. but it's a trade-off for sure. It's still going to be very dangerous, especially with those speeds, and that driver paying less attention. I don't know what he was doing right there, but going a little wider, just to give you an idea of what's ahead. It looks like it's open road for the most part, but he hasn't slowed down or stopped at any red lights since we picked this up.
Stu, he is not listening to our advice here on Good Day LA, which is if the road shines, take your time, amongst other things. He is not listening to that advice.
He's definitely not listening to that excellent advice, Jen. But we're keeping up with him for sure. A lot of oncoming traffic, which is interesting as well. But I'm kind of wondering if the Sheriff's Department might be trying to set something up, at least to be in the area just in case he does kind of just pull over. But we never know what they're thinking. But for this vehicle just to stop and have this guy get out and run in this neighborhood, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. There's really no place to hide. There's no place you can kind of blend in. It's all mansions and hillsides out here. So it would be very difficult for that, or probably the driver thinking he's got no place to go. So he's going to have to drive up into the Ventura County area to actually even try to find a place just to get out of that vehicle and run. There's no way that this person's going to get away with that truck, especially everybody knowing it. And then, of course, we believe that there's some sort of tracking device in there. So right now, though, you can see it's getting more rainy. I'm going to have to talk with Dylan here for a bit, but he hasn't shouted out any problems with visibility as it stands. He just said we're all right now. So we're just going to keep an eye on it, keep watching it, and keep trying to figure out where he's going to go, what he's going to do. And I'd like to know what's in the back of that. That's my personal question, because it's a Lowe's delivery truck, so, there could be any kind of number of things in there, and I don't think it's a rental. I don't think this is like a customer rents this to bring his stuff to wherever they need to be. I think this is what, Lowe's uses to deliver things to job sites and or homes.
Well, I hope they get their money back on that. That's all I can say.
No. Yeah, no money back on that one for sure, but just kind of keeping an eye on it. It's in speeds. I'm wondering if that's accurate right now, because we are getting a little bit farther behind it, because I don't think he's going 80 miles an hour, but he is starting to take those turns a little hard. No red lights coming up. Neptune's Net should be here shortly. That is a great place to eat if you're in the area. I don't think the suspect's going to be stopping there today and trying to grab a live lobster. But you can see it. Let me take a look here. Look how wide open this roadway is, and how much farther we have to go before even another intersection. Again, we're just going to kind of keep watching and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, as we keep watching, we are approaching the noon hour, and when we do, we will continue to follow this stolen box truck on Fox 11. KCOP, formerly known as Channel 13. Fox 11 Plus will go back to watch this stolen box truck. And let's take a look at moments ago. The rain is coming down. We see this box truck going along PCH. And right there, it looks like he clipped part of the K-rail along PCH. And this reminds everybody how slick the roads are right there, how unpredictable this driver can be. Obviously, we don't know his mindset or the person's mindset at all and why this is even happening. But as Stu is mentioning, this box truck approaching Neptune's Net, that is the Ventura County line, and clearly won't be stopping for a bite to eat or to say hi to all the bikers up there in Neptune's Net. But we are approaching the noon hour, and we've been following this for quite some time as the stolen box truck has made its way towards the Ventura County line up the Malibu coast, weaving through traffic at some point in downtown Malibu, and clearly wide open right there as the rain keeps coming down along PCH.
It is one of these ones where we just kind of watch and wait. It's he's keeping those speeds well above whatever's posted down there. I can guarantee it. I just saw the brake lights come on. I was actually thinking to myself, that's the first time I saw that. There does seem to be a sign saying that there is another light coming up ahead. I just saw that, so I'm going to just kind of take a peek and see how much farther it is up there. But maybe that wasn't a stoplight or a signal coming up. Maybe that was just more of a watch watch your speed type of light, because he's definitely moving well faster than any of the other traffic down there. You know, you just don't know also. I mean, it is a delivery truck. It is early in the morning. You'd venture to say that whoever the assigned driver to this was, not that suspect, you know, they probably filled it up, or it was at least full with gas when they started. And those trucks, they can go quite a distance. So as far as running out of fuel, I would venture to say that's not going to be happening. As soon as I say it, he might run out of gas. But you can see it continuing on up there, and it's the rain definitely coming down in the Ventura area. You see a lot of those signs. I know for a fact that we've been doing coverage out here because they closed all the lanes. I'm wondering if they had reopened any of that. We're going to find out here shortly, I'm sure. But I would venture to say they have, just because of the fact that you see traffic coming the other direction, and of course we haven't seen any of the cones or any of the signs. But again, that truck this morning, or now getting into the afternoon hours, starting to use some of those center lanes, starting those speeds picking up once again. Don't know why he's speeding it up. Maybe he's thinking that, you know, it's getting close to noon, I got to be somewhere. But I just worry when you start seeing it swerve a little bit, or him going through those bigger puddles. I don't want to see this thing hydroplane. I just don't want to see anybody get hurt.
All right, Stu, it is 12:01, and we are here on Channel 11 talking about what's going on right now. We've been following this for the last, I don't know, over 30 minutes or so. This stolen box truck. On the bottom of your screen, on the right-hand side, you will see this box truck make its way across the lanes there, going against traffic, and really just aggressively trying to weave through those cars as those cars realize, wait, something's going on here. We don't know what, but we don't want to get hit. So they start to back away. You see a police car there closely follow the box truck and lead that car out of the way. And there it goes, and it's been on the go since, and it's been picking up speed, slowing down a little bit here and there, but we've seen a number of violations.
Yeah, we do want to show you another clip right here as the truck went closer up towards the Ventura County line in the rain. You saw that truck right there, look, clip this K-rail because perhaps the roads are slick, or perhaps the driver was just being erratic at that point. But this is along PCH, more past the downtown Malibu area, as we saw that heavy congestion and the weaving through traffic. Now that stolen box truck approaching Ventura County. Again, you're seeing moments earlier, the initial point of this, when that stolen box truck was weaving through traffic, as Araxia was mentioning. But Stu, it looks like the signal is cutting in and out a little bit as you approach Ventura. Do we have you? I know the signal.
The issues we're going to start the restricted air point.
Okay, I did make out that he has restricted airspace and a different set of rules to follow as he makes his way up north.
So, you know, as we've been covering this, we've seen conditions out there with the weather also, you know, decrease as far as the amount of rain we're seeing on the roads. The roads are getting slick and wet. It is making it difficult and dangerous for this incident as we see it play out in front of us. You know, I have noticed there aren't many cars on the road right now as far as the direction that this stolen box truck is going, which is a good thing because we don't know, you know, what's in the truck to begin with, how heavy of a load it is, how experienced the person is who's driving this vehicle as well. And so sometimes we do see the box truck teetering and we don't know if that person's going to lose control. And so the fewer cars out on the road, obviously it'll be safer for all of the other people who have nothing to do with this. But it looks like we're going to have some issues covering this because Stu up in Skyfox is losing some of his signal.
We do know that Ventura County law enforcement officials are aware of the stolen box truck making its way towards their area. So I believe this whole situation is being called off at this point, but we'll have much more on Fox 11 at 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us, and we'll connect you to your regularly scheduled programming.
division area, and so definitely you can add the charge of a stolen vehicle with reckless driving and felony evading to trump up all those charges for this driver.
And Roland, we're also hearing that the driver hit another vehicle.
We have not witnessed it hit another vehicle quite yet. As it was, okay, check this out now. Going down the center divider, passing up traffic. We did not see, going down the center divider, passing up traffic. We did not see him hit a vehicle. However, he came close a number of different times, and in fact, went on the wrong side of the road as you're making that transition through the tunnel of Santa Monica off the freeway, and then coming onto PCH. There was a point in time where he was on the wrong side of the street, pushing his way, barreling through traffic and so forth, and that was when we saw a number of vehicles almost get hit.
Roland, it's Michael Brownlee now joining Annabelle here. Quick question for you. Our latest notes say that police are in tracking mode at this point. What does that mean for this particular chase? What are their maneuvers? What are the protocols?
Great question, Michael, because tracking mode for LAPD and most police agencies means that they are surveilling this driver from the air, meaning that there's too much of a safety issue, too much of a safety problem. They do not want to pursue this vehicle actively with their lights and siren, and as I pull out of the shot, you can see there are no patrol vehicles immediately to the rear of this vehicle. Because they do not want to push this driver to accelerate at a quicker speed, thereby making the police chase a lot more dangerous to innocent drivers and innocent bystanders. So they are surveilling from the air right now and tracking them from quite a bit of a distance behind. We did see at least 3 LAPD cruisers some distance behind this box truck.
And Roland, you mentioned we're not sure how many people are inside this box truck, but yes, the windows are fairly dark. I'm wondering, are the windows rolled down?
No, we have not seen any indication that the windows are rolled down, and when we've watched these types of pursuits before, we've seen all kinds of behavior of the driver where they kind of hang their arm out the window as if they're going for a Sunday cruise, but we have not seen that in this particular case. And in fact, we can see the reflection of the window up right now. So that driver inside the cab of that truck, windows not down, but still on PCH northbound, passing through the Cross Creek area. And he'll be approaching pretty quickly the area of Pepperdine, near Pepperdine. In fact, I think we might be pretty close to that area right now. Still northbound on PCH in Malibu.
And obviously, are police at a disadvantage or at an advantage here, Roland? And I'll use your expertise on this because we're talking about a 2-lane road here, maybe perhaps a 4-lane road, depending on what stretch of PCH you're on. But I mean, a spike strip at this point, what are the parameters and, of course, the restrictions when it comes to that? And of course, a vehicle this size. Okay, we have obviously come across some trouble with Roland Sproul's signal here out of News Chapter 4 at this point. But, of course, we're monitoring that stolen box truck.
Exactly. And again, we want to mention that we still don't know how many people are inside this box truck, but we do see that it's raining out there. The roads are slick. A major concern for the other drivers around this box truck who is driving pretty recklessly in that particular area of Malibu. Yeah, we just saw that box truck pass Pepperdine University, and I was asking Roland about what protocols would be for a spike strip on a stretch like this, where as we wait for his signal to come back and full fruition here, but we again are having trouble with that at this point. But we know that LAPD right now, they remain in tracking mode, and he explained that in fact that they have pulled back. There was at 1.3 cruises behind, but of course it's a way to keep the eyes on the driver, but at this point don't want to ramp up his aggression in any way, shape, or form. Exactly. And then you mentioned by Pepperdine University, which is another major concern for any of those students who may be walking around in that particular area. We've seen him cross some red lights. So, of course, major concern here for anybody who is in that area. Of course, we continue to track it over News Chopper 4, and we can see it on our monitor. I'm not sure if you guys are able to show that as well, but Roland's signal is coming in and out.
Yeah, it is. And of course, we're talking about a chase involving a very large vehicle, a very top-heavy vehicle. We typically see this with, passenger vehicles or sedans, but this sort of ramps things up here a bit. And we've seen that driver on PCH going well over 60 miles an hour at some point. And again, the major concern is what about those innocent drivers that have no idea what is happening at this point? So again, that always remains a concern, whether it's with law enforcement, of course, us as we're delivering the information.
Exactly. And then we did get some information as far as this driver did hit another driver. So again, this driver is just, is one-minded right now, trying to get away from police, and has no regard for any of those other drivers who may be in his area.
All right, so we actually have Roland Sproul back live for us at News Chopper 4. Roland, you dipped out here for a second. Can you give us a location and give us the conditions out there?
Oh, Michael, can you hear me?
We got you. All right, maybe we don't at this point, but we have some video from earlier again.
Oh boy!
This involving that box truck and again a very
News Chopper
precarious and dangerous maneuver here made by this the driver of the stolen box truck.
Yeah, and again, it just goes to, what we've been saying about this driver is that he's crossing these red lights, he's going in between vehicles, driving on the wrong side in that center divider, of course, and of course, being that it's raining outside, that is a major concern for anybody else who may be in that particular area. And again, we want to stress that he isn't driving around the Malibu area. Still don't know how many people are inside this box truck.
Yeah, this, of course, video earlier from News Chopper 4, and we talk about now how the LAPD is in tracking mode, but here in this video shot earlier today, you see LAPD right on the tail of this truck, and again, the strategy for pulling back and remaining in track of that mode where you're just sort of like pulled back, you're not actually on top of the driver. You're tracking him from afar. It's, of course, to lessen, as we said, the aggression of perhaps any dangerous moves like this to be done here in the future.
Exactly. And so, we don't know exactly what the game plan is, if they will put out a spike strip to slow this vehicle down. But as of right now, we know that they are on just watch, and they have a chopper over it, and of course we're over it as well. Our signal is not that strong in that particular area, but it is a major concern, especially with it raining in that.
Right,
zone.
and we have been keeping track of this here for quite some time. And again, last location, PCH, heading up through the Malibu area. Pepperdine University was one of the last locations we saw along that stretch of PCH before the signal dropped. We are, of course, doing our best now to reestablish that signal. Exactly.
And, David, our meteorologist, David Bigger, just let us know that there's more rain as they get farther west, especially west of Canaan. Dune Road.
Do you copy? Saddle 226.
We got you, and we are so glad to have you back here, Roland. We last saw you near Pepperdine University. Give us the location and the conditions now while we got you.
Okay, Michael, sorry you were covered by NOC, but right now we are northbound on Pacific Coast Highway. We are still at the north end of Malibu. I'm going to pull out of the shot just slightly here to kind of take a look at, we should be coming up on Point Doom here pretty quickly. So this pursuit continues in tracking mode, and in fact, we got some information a little earlier that they may have pulled off of this pursuit altogether. So right now, this driver just proceeding at about, 60, 65 miles per hour. Absolutely no one behind him, and I don't even believe there's an LAPD airship overhead as well. In fact, my pilot is telling me, yes, the LAPD airship has cleared out as well. So right now, we're just following this box truck as it makes its way, it continues northbound on Pacific Coast Highway, and it'll be making its way into the Point Doom area here pretty quickly.
Roland, for those viewers who are just tuning in right now, can you give us some just information as to when this started, how this all started?
Annabelle, I think you asked about when the pursuit started.
Correct. Yeah, and just give us some information as to what we know so far.
What we know so far is we picked up this pursuit. It's probably been the better part of an hour ago or so now, out of the West LA area, possibly Culver City. This is a stolen box truck. Right now, we believe only one individual inside that cab. However, the windows are so tinted that we haven't been able to push in enough to really be able to see anyone else who might be in there. It's a pursuit that has taken officers onto the 405 freeway in West LA, westbound 10, and then onto surface streets, onto PCH, through the Santa Monica area. In fact, there was an area as he was getting off the freeway and getting onto PCH where he went opposing. He went on the wrong side of the street, almost hit some vehicles. In fact, we're getting information, and you're getting information, that he did, in fact, hit some vehicles, and then pushed his way back over to the right side. And thus far, he's been on the right side of the road, on the northbound side so far. A very slippery roadside, I might add. You can see the water coming up behind his wheels, and that, again, that's going to make for a very tricky situation if he has to stop suddenly.
Yeah, you know, we just got a note here from one of our meteorologists, David Bigger, and we thank you for that, David. More rain is expected the farther west he gets, especially west of Canyon Doom Road, so we are seeing the effects of that here right now. Before our signal dropped out, I asked you about a potential for a pit maneuver with a vehicle this size, which is so top-heavy, Roland. Is that something that could be considered?
Well, I would say yes. I'd venture to say yes. They could actually do that. They could get out ahead because, for the most part, Michael, he has stayed right on Pacific Coast Highway.
Right.
So there's no intent, from what we can see, that he has to take another road or and what have you. So they could absolutely do that. But now they have canceled this pursuit. They've actually pulled off of this pursuit, so right now, no pursuing patrol vehicles behind, no airships overhead, and so I think they're just going to let this one go and try and pick it up someplace else with the hopes that maybe CHP or perhaps another agency might pick it up. And because there's no airship overhead, that would mean that LAPD would have had to put out a BOLO or be on the lookout for a vehicle fitting this description so that another police agency could pick up the pursuit. But right now, no police agencies in pursuit of this vehicle, no airships overhead.
You know, I venture to say, Roland, this isn't a very difficult vehicle to spot, either now or later, somewhere down the road. So you say they put that alert out. Again, we're not talking about a sedan that mixes in with everything else. This is a pretty specific box truck, and it was stolen.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much, they're not going to have any trouble identifying this vehicle at all. And again, it's just going to be a matter of another police agency because he'll be coming into Ventura County here, and in fact, we're at Trancas Canyon right now, and that's one of the canyons just before you get to the LA County-Ventura County line. And so his intentions seem to be just to continue on the 405 freeway as far as he can get, eluding officers, even though there are no officers directly behind him or overhead. Now, as I push in, look at the mud that's coming down off the hillsides and so forth. And, of course, you got all the water that's right there coming off the wheels. It's a good thing that he's not going excessively fast, but I would venture to say even with a vehicle of this size and this weight, even 60 miles per hour on a 2-lane highway or a 4-lane highway like this is still much too dangerous to be traveling at.
Yeah, and then taking into consideration that it hasn't rained in a couple of days, so we could see, so there is that concern that there is oil on those streets, and this driver could easily skid.
Absolutely, that's a possibility, but this guy is just wide open right now. Whole lot of real estate up in front of him. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of vehicles or traffic out in front, so that gives a whole lot of opportunity for him to just mash it, put the metal to the pedal, if you will, or the pedal to the metal, if you will, and just continue on northbound on Pacific Coast Highway. Now, I'm certain that because a bolo or announcement's been made to surrounding police agencies, hopefully they'll be able to intervene here at the Ventura County line, but it's just unclear whether or not they'll be picking him up. I've been trying to listen on the scanner here to see if CHP or Ventura County Sheriff is getting into place to try and pick this up in any way, shape, or form, but I have not heard anything thus far.
Hey, Roland, we've covered a lot of these here together and independently, and this guy is going against everything that we typically believe in, not returning to the neighborhood in which they originated, and again, not really slowing down because of no police presence. So we did get confirmation, however, no ground units at this point, but we believe that the airship is still overhead in some way, shape, or form. So peculiar to you that he's not returning back to where he originated? That's what we typically see.
Well, not really. We certainly have seen this before, haven't we? Where I think I was on one particular pursuit myself, and my colleague Eliana Marino has been on a number of them that went from LA County into Ventura County and just continued on. At some point, they just went into surveillance mode, and from surveillance mode just kind of put a bolo out to let other agencies pick it up, and then we got turned around, or our airship got turned around, and it's just really unclear whether or not they were able to pick it up, because at some point here, as we venture into Ventura County, we're going to lose our signal yet again and not be able to track this pursuit like we want. But yes, I would agree. He has defied, by most standards, the typical habits that we normally see with a lot of these pursuits, going around in circles, going back to the neighborhood that they most know. And so this individual may think that, okay, I might have some loot here in the back of this truck, something worthy of stealing, and so I'm just going to go where I can go and figure out what I'm going to do once I get there.
Yeah, and we're seeing that it is a furniture delivery box truck of some sort. So we don't know if anything is inside that vehicle or not. We also don't know how much gas this person has in that vehicle. So that is also a question, that we have, and that could potentially slow down this driver.
Yeah, very, very good question. In fact, I was just about to talk about that. Yeah, we just don't know whether or not this vehicle was making a delivery or picking furniture or supplies up. And we clearly do not know how much fuel or gas that this truck has. But suffice to say that trucks like this probably, I'm not sure if this is a diesel or gasoline powered, but suffice to say that they're not necessarily gas efficient, and one would think that at some point that he or she is going to run out of fuel very quickly.
Yeah, Roland, if you can really quickly, you talked about the LAPD and what it's decided to do. When it hits the Ventura County line and Ventura County sheriffs are, it's now within its jurisdiction, mutual aid, they have all the information they need. Will they jump in at this point, or will they perhaps take a page out of the LAPD's book? Your thoughts?
Michael, it's a great question because the practice of police chases and police pursuits, as you know, have been very litigious here in Southern California especially. And police agencies, while they would love to catch every single felon, especially ones that steal trucks and vehicles, that sort of thing, there becomes a risk versus gain type situation where they assess for themselves, is this a situation where we might be able to pick this vehicle up in another police agency's jurisdiction? Is it a situation that is worthy of staying right on the heels of this driver, encouraging the driver to go at excessive speeds to try and catch them? It is not an easy decision, but one that ultimately is made by the police supervisor whether or not they want to take that risk to pursue this vehicle. And clearly for LAPD and other agencies like LA County Sheriff, they've just come to the point where they go through kind of an algorithm, if you will, and assess what's worth it and what's not worth it. And for a stolen vehicle, to risk this vehicle running into someone, this is a very heavy vehicle on very muddy and now wet, slick roads. This vehicle can cause a lot of damage. And so I can't blame them for assessing the danger potentially that this could render by pulling off of this pursuit.
You know, Roland, and we are getting some information thanks to our assignment desk here, letting us know that the tracking discontinued due to weather, and because the company, and this is where technology really does play a major role in all of this, is able to track the vehicle. So we still don't know where the box truck was stolen from, but we are still waiting for all of these details. But I mean, technology really is coming in handy here.
Absolutely, and that may have been a factor as well in they're determining whether or not they were going to continue this pursuit, because they know at some point they're going to be able to pick up this truck and know its location. And with any luck, and my pilot confirms that the airship from LAPD did clear out quite a while ago. With any luck, using that technology, they'll be able to continue to track this vehicle and know where it's at, and as soon as it stops, then notify a law enforcement agency to hopefully swoop in and take this individual into custody. But right now, again, no patrol vehicles behind, no air assets overhead, and this vehicle just continues northbound of Pacific Coast Highway, coming into the Trifuno Canyon area. Still not at the Ventura County line quite yet.
All right, so we continue to track this stolen box truck out of Culver City, now making its way up PCH. And as Roland told us earlier, we lost the signal there. But Annabelle, you mentioned some of the technologies that the trucking company has. I'm sorry, somebody was in my ear. And again, being able to track where this truck is going.
Exactly. And so, yes, LAPD has stopped this pursuit. But again, I mean, that's where technology really does come in handy in something like this, that they don't have to put in danger all of the other drivers, right, that are that may be in that particular area, because the driver is not seeing the vehicles, the police units behind them. So that is a good thing, because for many, for many of these drivers, they tend to move faster, drive faster when they see police officers behind them. Okay, so we have Roland's signal back, and as we continue to look at this live shot from News Chopper 4, we see again the PCH now reduced down to one lane in both directions, and so again, this is the first vehicle that we've seen it leading the truck here in quite a while to take advantage of. As we show you again, video from earlier today, obviously the weather conditions much different where this video was taken during the early stages of the chase versus where that truck is right now. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more rain. Meteorologist David Biggert gave us some information as to, that the farther west this driver went, we were going to see more of that wet weather out there. So more rain, of course, affecting those roads, and this driver really isn't slowing down all that much, considering that it's rainy and that the roads are slick out there. All right, so again, more video now from earlier during the chase. I believe this is along Pacific Coast Highway. We see speeds there on our tracking system in excess of 70 miles an hour. A little busier during this stretch of PCH, but again, the further west we get, the more rain we see, and of course, the fewer cars we see. And that is a good thing, is that there weren't that many vehicles on PCH heading northbound on that particular area there. But, truly, the driver was seen driving recklessly. We still don't know how many people are inside that box truck that was stolen, reported stolen. We were told that LAPD discontinued tracking or this pursuit because of the weather and because the company is able to track this vehicle. So again, we don't know a whole lot of information about the particular vehicle, where it was stolen from, but we do know it was stolen.
All right, so while we got Roland and the signal back, we want to bring him on that we're, again, still trying to work out. This box truck stolen out of Culver City. And Annabelle, as you mentioned, we don't know the contents inside. We don't know exactly the originating company, but we have heard from the LAPD, in fact, that they pulled out their ground units, they pulled out their airship, and there is technology which can track this truck. So as we mentioned earlier with Roland, it's a pretty specific type of truck. It won't be hard to locate down the road somewhere.
Exactly. And now we're in Ventura County. So the sheriff's department could be getting involved as well. We still don't know that for sure what the game plan is here, but they are in a different, this driver is in a different jurisdiction now, and that would belong to the sheriff's department. But we don't know if they will be pursuing this vehicle or they're just going to be on the lookout. Again, one of the good things about this is that the company does have a tracking device on this vehicle.
All right, so we continue to show you video shot from earlier today. This is along Pacific Coast Highway in its earlier stages, obviously before the rain. The further west, as David mentioned, our meteorologist David Bigger, the further west this driver goes, the more rain we saw. In fact, that was true. In fact, we saw some pretty slick roads out there. And as we try to reestablish Roland's live picture, again, the conditions of fewer cars on PCH, however, the conditions a little more precarious.
Yeah, and he was driving down PCH in the Malibu area near Pepperdine University. We saw him go through these intersections pretty recklessly, we might add. And, that was such a big concern because we know that that PCH in that area has been dangerous. There are a lot of pedestrian students who are in that area near Pepperdine. So, yeah, we don't know exactly where the box truck is now, but we do believe the box truck is in Ventura County, still heading northbound on PCH. And we're trying to establish our shot here with Roland Sproul, who is still overhead this stolen vehicle that was stolen out of the area of West LA, Culver City. Don't know what's inside that box truck, but the good thing, once again, and we want to emphasize, is that the police have stopped pursuing this vehicle because the company that owns the box truck has a tracking device on it.
Yeah, and that may have played into the role of the LAPD's decision to pull off. It was in tracking mode for quite a while. The ground units pulled off. The airship stayed, I believe, a little longer, but we got confirmation from Roland's pilot here in News Chopper 4 that that airship, in fact, was pulled off. So we are again, in the Malibu area. As this truck makes its way west here on the PCH, we're going to try to establish Roland's signal here once again. But in the meantime, this chase continues.
This chase continues, not in our area here in LA County, but now in Ventura County. We are trying to establish that shot with Roland Sproul and News Chopper 4. But as of right now, we have limited information. We don't know how much fuel this vehicle has and how fast he is driving in that area. We are unfortunately unable to see live images right now because of the signal that we don't have.
Okay, so as we continue to flush out the answers to these questions, we want to return you now to regular programming. Of course, we'll have more coming up for you on the NBC4 News starting at 3. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Very busy day at the Georgia State Capitol. We had the hearing on the 4th floor. On the 2nd floor was where candidates come.
Yeah, we will continue to record, continuing to record. Yeah, 7S News Chopper, I'm guessing that you want us to continue on this pursuit or on this chase and continue to record. I do copy you. Go ahead. How do you? What was that? What is that? Assignment S, news jobber. You got me on the 450? Yeah, Assignment S, news chopper in the blind. We have about 15 more minutes of fuel. We can land at either Camarillo or go back to Whiteman. Yeah. You know what? Let's just make a command decision, and let's just say we're going to land at Camarillo. And we'll hold the shot if you... Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, listen. Do you copy me? Ryan, can you copy me? Ryan from the news chopper in the blind. This is what we're going to do. We are going to continue with the pursuit. As long as we can get fuel at Camarillo, we can fly for another 40 minutes. We're going to continue with the pursuit and get refuel at Camarillo. No, I did not copy. I am not copying you. I am not copying you, Sammy. Say again. What other airships are up? Okay. Oh. Wow. Coming into a little bit of traffic now. Oh man, do not do that. Do not do that, dude. Slow down. Go ahead, desk. Okay, where do you want us to switch to? What repeater do you want us to switch to? PV, copy, stand by. Desk on the 450. Switch back to PV. Okay. Period. Are you able to see my picture at all? Question mark. Okay, I need you to ask NOC what mountaintop they want me to be on and what radio repeater site they want me on. Yeah, you got me? Okay. All right, listen, Sammy. Right now I'm on OAT, and my radio repeater is on PV. What is that sound? What is that sound? You hear that? You hear that sound? There's a loud tone. I got you loud and clear. I'm on OAT right now, 240, and my radio repeater is on PV. Do you want me to switch to OAT? Okay. Line, you know what I mean. Metal to the bell, pedal to the metal. Yep, I've been rolling the whole time. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The reality of it is that it has become so litigious here. So litigious. I absolutely can. Can you hear me? Yep, I sure can. How are we doing on fuel? Four zero? Okay. Okay. Pedal to the metal. To the metal. It's become so litigious. It's become so litigious. This game. This game. I called it. It's a feeling I had in my bones. That's it. Metal to the pedal. Metal to the. Ooh, what was that? Oh, okay. All right. Well, there's the CHP cruiser right there. Let's see what these guys do. Yeah, I saw him back there. Kind of hanging back a little bit. Probably waiting to get authorization to engage. Yep, 2 of them back there. Is that what they're saying? I didn't see that. He hit that guy? Oh, getting off the freeway. Let's see, where's he getting off at? This is going to be Moore Park Road. Through Moore Park. Maybe getting back on the freeway. Nope. Getting back onto the freeway. Still southbound on the 101. Oh, look at that. He rammed right in the back of that guy. Holy cow. Oh, that dude is nuts. So now this guy's coming after him. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. He headed on the 23. This takes us back into Ventura County, doesn't it? Yeah. So now this guy's following him. He's going to try and stop him. He's trying to stop him. He's trying to stop him. Going around. Oh, he just juked him. He's getting off the freeway. This is going to be Jan's Road. Jan's Road. Okay, making a right-hand turn. Copy. How? What's our closest airport? Camarillo. Okay, I'll let him know. Assignment S, news chopper. Assignment S, news chopper. How long until we absolutely have to pull off? 15 minutes. Okay. NOC news chopper. Wow. Blew right through that intersection. Yeah, I do. You got me? Okay, yeah, we're have to go to Camarillo. Let them know we're going to Camarillo. Correction on that. Whiteman. We'll be going to Whiteman. Yeah. Hey, Sammy, did you catch all that shenanigans on the freeway? Outstanding. Okay, cool. He sure did. We were talking about that. Maybe it takes a another box truck to pit a box truck. This guy's just cruising through this residential area, has no idea where he's going. Left-hand turn onto. This would be a perfect time to try and see if they can pit this guy. Not pit him, but spike strips. If they could get an airship overhead. Herbs Road. Southbound on Herbs Road. Right-hand turn, Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Blowing through the intersection, making a left-hand turn onto Rancho Road. What's that? Yeah. northbound 101. Are we the only ones following this box truck? Who else is up? 5? Everyone. Okay. Everyone is here. Dude, just let me know when you need to pull off, man. We're just gonna have to bear and grin it. I hate to pull off, but we got to do it. Okay. Yeah. Understood. Okay. Whenever you're ready. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Sammy, you on the 450? Hey, Sammy, you got yours on? Hey, Sammy, you got yours on? NOC News Chopper work. Hey, Christina, we got about 2 minutes and we got to pull off. Okay, copy that. Thank you.